The trope I'm going to be focusing on this evening is this video will explore the ways in which female characters are subjected to impractical footwear during the exploration and combat within video games, television, and film. The first example is Catwoman from the DC Comics. Catwoman was created by Bill Finger and Bob Crane. She made her first appearance in 1940 in the Batman #1. She became a popular character but had a 12-year break because of the Comic Book Code Authority in 1954. As times changed, so did Catwoman's attire. Some of her crime-fighting footwear was blurred between practicality and unrealistic. This was the Game Boy Color game Catwoman. In this gameplay, Catwoman is not shown wearing heels. The storyline is not based on a film or in the DC comic universe. However, despite the graphics being extremely outdated because of the era it was produced, the character was still adopted from her role in the comics. In the Nintendo Game Boy Color gameplay, we can see Catwoman depicted with no high heels on. Despite that fact, the analytical component of freedom and exploration is present as she leaps from rooftop to rooftop, trying to avoid detection. In the Batman Arkham series gameplay, players are introduced into a diegetic world constructed for gaming experiences. The gamers play as Catwoman with high heels on, defying gravity and maneuvering through the street and underground hideouts. It is in this gameplay where players utilize the fantasy place as a safe space to do whatever their hearts desire, creating a connection between freedom and utopia. In the film versions, we see that the games are based off of these films. Catwoman in the gameplay contain many features that are similar to versions portrayed in the films. The main items in this specific video are her leather skin-tight suit and her razor-sharp high heels. The purpose of the razor-sharp high heels is to compensate for the leather whip that she does not have.
Doesn't get.
Nice outfit. Those heels make it tough to walk.
I don't know. Do they?
However, in Tim Burton's film, we see Catwoman having all three necessary components that make her Catwoman. Number 1, a skin-tight bodysuit. Number 2, a leather whip. And number 3, her high heels. It is in Batman Arkham series where we see Catwoman able to customize her outfits by unlocking hidden challenges. This is the only way for her character to lose the heels and wear practical such as combat boots instead. In the Fox television series, we see a current updated version of Catwoman, who is portrayed as a young teenage girl. Her attire and overall character portrayal rejects the stereotypical high heel syndrome. This makes the character more relatable and idealistic. Televisuality has now also intersected with gaming culture, stylizing the performances. In the previous videos, we saw Catwoman being frozen mid-air as she lands a kick to her opponent. These new graphics and elements are constantly being produced and updated. In the past, style was in the background and the narrative was on the front. However, now style is in the foreground and in the introduction. Metroid Prime was created in Nintendo in 1986. It consists of elemental gameplay from Super Mario Bros. And The Legends of Zelda. The original Samus is armor protected and combat ready. However, the new and improved stylized Zero Suit Samus is more quicker and agile, but more vulnerable to attacks because she is not wearing armor. The Zero Suit Samus is more feminine and appealing in the design. This is how we see stylized being implemented in a character. But the main focus on Samus is she has high heels. So that brings us to question, why are we so fascinated on high heels and heels in the gaming culture? Well, we have to take a look back in our history. Heels can be traced back to men's riding shoes, which were similar to cowboy boots. At that time, they were considered to represent masculinity. As heels went in and out of fashion, women working in the porn or pinup industry began wearing them. During the beginning of World War II, pinup women were used as morale advocates for soldiers around the world. Such stars as Rita Hayworth and Veronica Lake are prime examples. Throughout the 1940s and 50s, stars of pinup magazines, photos, and films began to become idolized for their works and posing in high heels. For example, the United States Air Force unofficially allowed artwork to be depicted on bombers and planes. These pictures were of women in high heels, of course in military or somewhat what they consider a military outfit, and they were labeled as the bomber girls. As we can see, bomber girls were in the past. We now jump to 2016 where we see Jessica Chastain's character in Jurassic World outrun a T-Rex in high heels. It seems like heels have become an adopted tool to place in women, but it's not in a practical sense. After the video, we see an interview with Jessica being asked what's with the heels, why the heels, and her opinion about wearing the heels.
The heels phenomenon. Were you surprised by it?
Totally surprised. But I mean, I had so many different feelings about it. My most superficial feelings were that, I mean, it was really hard running in heels at the time. I'm like, people are acknowledging it.
That's right.
It stood out to them because it stood out to me too. It was crazy. Now, in terms of the controversy of it, that is something I didn't expect at all, because I sort of, just from a perspective, I was like, of course it's illogical for her to be in heels in the jungle.
In the current CBS News article, sexy video game girls fighting in 6-inch stiletto heels, no way, no how. It presents how women are battling in high heels is not practical, and yet it's still sensationalized in the gaming industry. The article leads to a reenactment video on how real-life scenarios would take place. According to the Entertainment Software Association, adult women are now the largest demographic in the gaming industry. Women over 18 years old make up 36% of the gaming population, followed by adult men at 35%. Many female gamers have voiced their opinions strongly regarding the improper footwear for fictional characters. Some of those criticisms are the high heels are overused as a fan service. They are a tired design trend for the male gaze, and now become an acceptable fantasy, adding to sexy appeal or sexual appeal. Now that women are the majority in the gaming industry pertaining to playing video games, will the industry, including the developers and concept artists, market their future games toward their new hegemonic demographic? That is the question of the day, and will be the question. The only thing we can do is sit back and wait and continue to advocate against high heels in video games and how unnecessary they are.